God's delay is not God's denial. Let me tell you something real. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. See, most people think that if something doesn't show up on their timeline, then it must be denied. But that's not how it works. God is not Amazon Prime. You don't place an order and expect it on your doorstep in 2 days. God moves on his own time. He sees the whole chessboard. You're only looking at your next move. But he's setting you up for a checkmate victory. You've been praying, you've been working, and you're wondering why the breakthrough hasn't come. But listen, delay is not denial. It's preparation. You thought the delay meant the dream was over. You thought because it didn't show up when you wanted it to, that it was canceled. But here's the truth. Delay is not a shutdown, it's a setup. It's not the final chapter. It's not the period at the end of your sentence. It's a comma, a pause, a moment where the author of your story is turning the page. You don't quit in the setup. You don't walk away during construction. See, when you're building something strong, something lasting, you don't rush it. A shack can go up overnight. A skyscraper takes time. The deeper the foundation, the higher it can go. So if it's taking time, that means it's going to be big. You're not being stalled, you're being stabilized. Now here's what happens to most people. They mistake delay for denial. They confuse waiting with wasting. And because the dream didn't come dressed the way they imagined, they stop chasing it. That's how people lose before they ever win. But when you understand that the delay is actually working in your favor, your mindset shifts. You stop complaining about what hasn't happened and start preparing for what's about to. Because if you quit during the setup, you'll miss the stage. You'll miss the reveal. You'll miss the blessing that was being built behind the curtain. Let me tell you something. No dream is ever denied if you have the courage to keep believing during the delay. Every no is followed by a lesson. Every setback is a redirection. What's for you doesn't miss you. It just waits until you're ready. So while you're pacing and doubting and questioning, God is aligning people, opening doors, strengthening your character, removing distractions, teaching you patience, and molding your spirit. And when it all comes together, you won't have to force it. It will fit. It will flow. It will feel like it was always meant for you, because it was, but only if you endure the delay. That delay is a filter. It weeds out the people who only wanted the result, but weren't willing to grow for it. It separates the daydreamers from the doers. The delay says, show me how bad you want it. It says, can you still believe when nothing is happening? That's where the real winners are made. In the silence, in the obscurity, in the empty seasons where you still show up. Where you're not getting applause, but you're still giving effort. Where you're not seeing fruit, but you're still planting seeds. Because one day, you'll wake up and everything you planted in faith will sprout in favor. People will look at your life and call it overnight success, but they won't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep. They won't see the days you fought back doubt just to take one more step. They won't see the delay that almost broke you, but didn't, because you held on, because you trusted the setup, because you believed that the God who gave you the vision was also strong enough to bring it to pass, and He is. But He's not rushing. He's building it right. He's building it solid. He's building it so that when the blessing comes, it doesn't crush you. It sustains you. So don't resent the delay. Don't curse the wait. See it for what it is, a sacred pause where God is setting the stage for your next move. You're not stuck. You're not abandoned. You're in process. And if you don't give up, if you don't quit, you're going to look back and thank him for every door that didn't open too soon. Because you'll realize the delay was never the enemy. It was always the setup for something greater than you imagined. You can't rush what God is doing in your life. You might want it right now, but he sees what you can't. You're looking at the clock. He's looking at your character. You're tracking time, but he's building something timeless. There's a reason why things don't always happen when you want them to. It's because your timeline is limited by what you see, what you feel, and what you think you're ready for. But God knows the whole picture. He's not just preparing the blessing, he's preparing you to carry it. And if you're not ready, it won't last. It'll break you instead of bless you. The most dangerous thing you can do is demand a gift before you're mature enough to handle it. Imagine getting the promotion before you learned discipline, or stepping into the spotlight before you dealt with your pride. You'd crash. And that's what God's trying to protect you from. He doesn't just want you to reach the blessing. He wants you to sustain it. So that delay, that time gap between the dream and the reality, that's not punishment. That's protection. That's preparation. That's divine timing. Let me tell you something real. It's hard to wait, especially when you see other people around you getting what you've been praying for. You're watching friends get married, watching others grow their business, watching everybody else celebrate, while you're stuck in the same place. And that can mess with your mind. It can make you think something's wrong with you. But let me tell you, it's not that you're behind. It's that you're being refined. God's not ignoring you. He's perfecting what concerns you. What you call delay, he calls development. Because what's coming to you isn't small. It's not ordinary. It's not something that anybody can carry. That's why it's taking time. You can't microwave greatness. You can't skip steps and expect to stand tall. No, this journey is molding you. It's teaching you how to trust when you don't understand, how to endure when it's uncomfortable, and how to stay faithful when the reward isn't in sight. Those lessons, they don't come from ease. They come from the weight. That's why the timing matters. Think about it. You've seen people blow up too fast and burn out even faster. You've seen folks rise before they were ready and fall just as quick. That's because they forced the timing. They tried to grab what wasn't meant for their hands yet. But when you walk in God's timing, when you allow him to orchestrate your steps, everything fits. The right people come. The right doors open. The right mindset is in place. You don't have to force anything. You flow into it. The truth is, we're impatient. We want things now. But God doesn't work on demand. He works on destiny. And destiny takes time. So instead of asking, when will it happen? Ask, what am I learning while I wait? Because every season of silence is pregnant with purpose. Every closed door is teaching you patience, resilience, and faith. And when the time is right, when all the pieces align, you'll step into what's been waiting for you all along. You'll look back and realize the wait didn't waste your time. It saved you. It shaped you. It matured you. And it brought you to the exact place you were always meant to be. So don't despise God's timing. Don't curse the clock. Trust the process. Stay in position. And know that just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. It just means it's going to arrive exactly when you're ready. Not a moment too soon, not a second too late, but right on time. You ever wonder why your life's been full of struggles? Why every time you try to rise up, something knocks you back down? Why the path to your dream feels more like a war zone than a red carpet? Let me tell you why. Because the struggle is not a punishment. It's part of the setup. It's the training ground for your breakthrough. See, every great story has a conflict. Every hero has a valley before the victory. And the struggle you're facing right now is sculpting you into the person you need to be when the blessing shows up. Most people want the success, but they don't want the struggle that comes with it. But it doesn't work like that. You can't skip the grind and still expect the glory. The muscles you need to lift your dream, they get built in the weight room of pain, failure, and persistence. That heartbreak you went through, it didn't come to destroy you. It came to deepen you. That financial storm, it came to teach you how to manage, how to plan, how to stay faithful even when there's nothing in the bank. The people who walked away, they didn't leave you empty. They made room for the right ones. Your struggle is your story. And that story is going to bless somebody else one day. When you make it out, and you will, you'll have the receipts. You'll have the wisdom. You'll have the fire that comes from surviving something that should have taken you out. But you stayed standing. That's the part most folks miss. They think the struggle is a sign to stop, to turn back, to settle. But it's actually the confirmation that you're on the right path. Because the enemy don't fight nobodies. He only throws his hardest punches at people who are carrying something great. So don't despise the hard times. Don't curse the setbacks. Don't let the tears convince you that you're weak. They're just signs that your soul is stretching. They're indicators that something bigger is being born. When God has something major planned for you, He won't let you walk into it untested. You got to be refined. You got to be proven. Not so that He knows what's in you. He already does. But so that you know what's in you. That strength, that fire, that resilience, you discover it in the struggle. Let me tell you something. When you've been through enough pain, you stop being impressed by easy things. You stop chasing quick fixes and start building legacies. Because you know what it took to get here. You know the nights you cried, the mornings you doubted yourself, the moments when quitting looked easier than continuing. And yet you kept going. That's why the struggle is sacred. That's why the storm matters. It's the furnace that forges the steel in your soul. You may not understand it right now. It may feel unfair. It may even feel cruel. But I promise you, one day, you'll look back on this very moment and say, that's where I found my power. That's where I learned to fight. That's where I discovered that I'm not just a dreamer. I'm a warrior. And when you get to that point, nobody will be able to take it from you. Not the critics, not the haters, not even the fear that used to paralyze you. So keep walking through the storm. Keep pressing through the pain. Because it's not breaking you, it's building you. And when the time comes, when the curtain rises and the opportunity arrives, you'll be ready. Not because life was easy, but because the struggle prepared you for the stage. And you'll walk into that moment not just with a dream, but with a story that'll change lives. You can't become who you're meant to be without going through what you're meant to overcome. Life isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And every time you go through something that shakes you to your core, you're not breaking, you're growing. That pain, that pressure, that season you thought would finish you, it's molding you into the version of yourself that you've always needed to meet. Because growth don't happen when you're comfortable. Growth happens when you're stretched, when you're pressed, and when you're pushed beyond your limits. Think about a seed. It doesn't grow on the surface. It has to be buried in the dark, in the dirt, where nobody sees it. And in that place, something miraculous happens. It starts to push through the soil. It breaks through the resistance because that pressure is necessary for it to rise. You're that seed. Life is going to bury you sometimes. It's going to cover you in situations you didn't ask for. But you've got a choice to stay buried or break through. The struggle you're facing isn't the end. It's the beginning of your growth. You ever notice how the hardest moments in your life are the ones that taught you the most? Not the vacations, not the easy wins. It's the heartbreaks, the failures, the rejections. Those are your real teachers. They teach you about who you are when the spotlight is off. They show you what you're really made of. You can't fake your way through pain. Pain exposes truth, and truth produces change. A lot of people want the rewards of growth without the growing pains. But you don't get wisdom from winning all the time. You get wisdom from losing, learning, adjusting, and coming back stronger. When you go through something, you come out with something, a new perspective, a deeper strength, a better understanding of your purpose. Life didn't come to destroy you, it came to develop you. And every experience, even the painful ones, are part of that process. You've got to stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Because there's always a lesson inside the loss. There's always power inside the pain. And sometimes the thing you think is setting you back is actually setting you up for the next level. But you've got to be willing to go through it. You've got to be willing to feel the heat of the fire and trust that it's refining you, not burning you out. Don't be ashamed of your scars. Scars are proof that you survived something. They're not weaknesses, they're witness marks. They testify to the fact that you've been through the battle and came out with something stronger. So don't hide them. Let them speak. Let them inspire. Because someone out there is waiting to hear your story, and your story has the power to unlock someone else's breakthrough. You don't grow by running from the hard stuff. You grow by facing it head on. You grow by showing up when you don't feel like it, by believing when everything around you says give up. You grow when you refuse to stay down after life knocks you over. And every time you get back up, you're not just rising, you're rising better. So if life's testing you right now, if it feels like you're in the middle of the fire, just know this, it's growing you. It's preparing you for something greater. Don't give up in the process. The strength you're building today is the same strength that's going to carry you to your destiny tomorrow. There comes a point in every person's life when logic just can't carry the weight anymore. When everything you've planned, everything you've calculated, everything that should have worked, doesn't. And in that moment, when your plans fall apart and you're staring at what feels like failure, you've got a choice: give up or activate your faith. Because when logic taps out, that's when faith taps in. And faith doesn't need evidence to function. Faith walks forward even when there's no sign of the door. You see, faith is that quiet voice inside you that tells you to keep going when everyone else says it's over. Faith is not about what you see. It's about what you believe. And sometimes belief has to step into the dark and move without a map. That's scary. That's uncomfortable. But that's how mountains get moved. Not by sight, but by the conviction that something greater is waiting on the other side of this valley. The mistake most people make is they try to reason their way through a season that's meant to be walked through with faith. Some things in life won't make sense until years later, if ever. And if you're always trying to fit everything into your understanding, you'll miss miracles. Logic is limited. It's boxed in by facts, by data, by what should happen. But faith breaks the box. It says, even though I don't have the resources, Even though I don't have the connections, even though the odds are against me, I'm still going. That's power. That's freedom. Think about every major breakthrough in life. People didn't get there because everything added up perfectly. They got there because they were bold enough to keep believing when nothing made sense. They applied one more time when the world told them they were done. They dreamed bigger than their environment. They refused to shrink their vision to match their circumstances. That's faith in action. That's courage. That's how destinies are unlocked. Now, I'm not saying ignore wisdom or be reckless. But there are times when you've done all you can, planned all you can, waited all you can, and now it's time to leap. That's when faith shows up and says, let me take it from here. See, faith doesn't need you to know how. It just needs you to trust who. When you believe that something greater is ordering your steps, you can walk with a confidence that confuses people. You can smile in storms because you know storms don't last. You can push through delays because you know delay is not denial. What I've learned is this logic may tell you to quit, but faith tells you it's not over. Logic looks at the bank account and says, it's impossible. Faith looks at the dream and says, it's inevitable. Logic sees the door closed and walks away. Faith knocks again or kicks the thing down. You've got to decide which one's going to lead your life. Logic has its place, but faith is the driver when you're chasing something bigger than you. Some people won't understand your journey because they only operate in logic. That's okay. You weren't called to live by what they understand. You were called to live by faith. And if you stay true to that, even when it's scary, even when it's uncertain, you'll get to places logic could never take you. So don't be afraid to step when the ground looks shaky. Don't be afraid to believe when the facts say stop. Your future isn't built on facts, it's built on faith. And faith will always carry you further than fear ever could. So let me tell you something plain and simple. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Just because the doors are closed now doesn't mean they'll stay locked forever. Delay does not mean denial. Sometimes the reason it's taking so long is because what's coming is so much bigger than you even imagined. You think you're waiting on it, but really, it's getting ready for you. You're not being punished. You're being prepared.